Thank you, Mrs. Ostrander. Welcome, everyone. We are very, very happy to have you here joining us on this somewhat gray Friday afternoon. Although the lights are on in our buildings and in your homes, and we're really looking forward to being with your students, whether that's remotely or here in person at our school buildings next week. Welcome. I am joined by my phenomenal colleagues today, each of whom will introduce themselves to you as we get started here. So my name is Jane Lizotte. I am the principal of the Walter J. Patton Elementary School and the Assistant Superintendent for Community Partnerships and Wellbeing here in Shrewsbury.
Good morning, my name is Chris Girardi. I am the principal at Beale Early Childhood Center.
Hi, I'm Noelle Freeman. I am the Director of School Nursing.
Good afternoon, I'm Brian Mabey. I'm the principal at Spring Street School.
Hey everyone, I'm Gina Kelly. I'm the assistant principal at Floral Street School.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Tiffany Ostrander, and I'm the principal at Calvin Coolidge School.
And I have finally decided to unmute myself, which I didn't realize I was muted. My name's Lisa McHubry. I'm the principal at Floral Street School.
So thanks again for being here. We are thrilled to welcome you, and we cannot wait to be with your children, our students. We've waited several months to see them and all of you again and to be together as colleagues, and we're truly excited for the opportunity that lies ahead. And I just want to review our goals, share our goals for this informational session. All of us want you to know that this is really about school reopening physically. This webinar is not specific to curriculum and instruction. That will happen during our upcoming curriculum nights, and information will be forthcoming regarding those. But this is really about informing and educating all of you, our very supportive parents and caretakers, regarding the reopening of our schools. We are looking forward to answering questions regarding school reopening, and that will happen in different formats. You'll learn more about how we are going to gather your questions and provide answers to you when we break out into our building-based groups. And also, we are just looking forward to meeting together as an entire elementary community, as well as our individual communities. As you know, we work very closely together. We, the elementary principals, assistant principal, Gina Kelly, Noelle Freeman, who is here with us today, our director of nursing, and leaders and educators across the district to ensure that we have our curriculum streamlined across grade levels, and that our students are receiving some common experiences as well as individual experiences based on the classroom they are in. Dr. Sawyer and several of us have been just reminding people about the three key messages that we have really lived by over the course of these past several months, and will continue to keep at the forefront of our minds as we reopen schools and enter into the 2020-2021 school year. First and foremost, the health and well-being of students, families, and staff is priority number one. Secondly, our focus for the coming year is to develop a safe school environment for our students and staff that prioritizes everyone's well-being and enables high levels of learning for all. And again, that means whether you are a student or a family where your children are all remote, or if you're a hybrid student family, whereby you're coming to school for 2 days a week and remote the remaining days, or you're a family of a student who is coming to our school for 4 or 4.5 days. The priorities are the same. Finally, we're planning we are planning based on guidance from the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, while closely monitoring the latest information from medical experts and the evolving data regarding the pandemic, both in Massachusetts and here in our town of Shrewsbury. Next slide, please. So how can we protect ourselves and others? A combination of strategies. At
So
this
this
time,
is me, I think, Jane. I'll take
yes,
it from
it is.
here. Thanks.
There you go.
So this is Noelle, the Director of Nursing. I'm just going to highlight a few of the slides that are in the family training that was shared in an email by Dr. Sawyer yesterday. So some of you may have had a chance to review the longer, more detailed training. But a couple things we want to highlight is that we do need to use a combination of strategies in order to protect ourselves and others. So that includes all students wearing face masks consistently and in the proper manner. So just a reminder that that does include all students K through 4. So all of our elementary students are expected to wear a mask unless they have a disability that prevents them from doing so, and that would be evaluated individually. We want everyone to keep in mind the definition of close contact, which is being within 6 feet of others for 15 minutes at a time. And our goal is to avoid that close contact. We do know that it will happen at times, depending on what services children require, but we will avoid it when possible. And when it does happen, we'll keep track of that. So if contact tracing needs to happen, we are able to do that. Students are going to be washing and sanitizing their hands frequently throughout the day, and then students must stay home if they're sick. I'm going to talk a little bit about that and just really want to emphasize that we're asking families to partner with us to maintain a safe school environment by doing all of these things and working with their children to make sure these things are happening. So as far as staying home when sick, this is very important, and it's a change from what our typical recommendation for kids in school is. So a lot of the symptoms that are possible COVID-19 symptoms, which I'll talk about a little bit more in the next slide, do overlap with lots of symptoms of common illnesses, even allergies, the flu, common cold. So it may be confusing, and there may be symptoms that kids would typically have come to school with, and that would have been okay. But this year in this environment, we need your children to stay home if they're experiencing these symptoms until they can be evaluated. So we're asking all families to do this daily self-assessment of symptoms. And if you answer yes to any of the questions on this, your child needs to stay home from school. So each morning, please kind of run through these questions in your head about your child. So has the student had any of this possible COVID symptoms in the last 3 days? And as I said, these are pretty common symptoms. They include a fever of 100 or more, cough or shortness of breath, sore throat, congestion or runny nose, headache, fatigue, so if they're much more tired than they normally would be, unexplained body or muscle aches, GI symptoms like nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, or a new loss of taste and smell. The congestion and kind of runny nose, nasal symptoms, or a headache, each of those alone does not kind of qualify you to need to stay home. Those only count if there's another symptom that goes along with it. You also need to think about whether the student or anyone in the student's household or people they've been in close contact with have been diagnosed or suspected of having COVID-19 in the last 14 days, whether the student's been told that they need to quarantine or isolate, and whether there's been travel outside of Massachusetts. And as far as travel goes, we're abiding by the Massachusetts travel order. There are links on the slides to the travel order, and I encourage anyone who's traveling to check that before or after you travel, because the states that are considered lower risk or kind of the safe states do change regularly based on the COVID numbers in those states. So as I said, we're asking everyone to do that screening before they send their child to school. So hopefully most children who have any kind of symptoms are going to stay home. But we know that sometimes the symptoms kind of pop up during the school day. So if that happens and children are noticed to have symptoms during the day, they're going to be sent to the school nurse to be evaluated. And the school nurse will determine what needs to happen next. So if that determination is that the student's symptoms are consistent with possible COVID-19, that student will need to go home. And we have a space in each of the school buildings where those students will wait to be dismissed, and that space is separate from the nurse's office. So again, anyone who has symptoms will need to be dismissed. When they are dismissed, you'll be given instructions as to what happens next, and you'll be likely told that in order for your child to return to school, they're going to need to have a COVID test done and be seen by their healthcare provider. So the nurse will give some more details about that if you're in the situation of needing to dismiss your child. And if you keep your child home from school, you will also get a call from the nurse to talk about what the symptoms are and what the next steps need to be in order for the child to return to school, because we do need them evaluated before they can come back to school if they have symptoms. In order to limit exposure to other people, their students are going to wait in that special waiting area, and we're asking that people make every effort to pick them up quickly within 30 minutes whenever possible, and make sure that your emergency contacts are updated in Power Schools so that we can be in touch with someone to pick them up. And finally, I just want to talk about what happens if you know that either the student or someone in your household does test positive. We're asking that families notify their school nurse, or you can reach out directly to me to let us know that there's a positive case at home. The reason for that is so that we can support you in any way that we can from school, and also to allow us to begin contact tracing at school if that's necessary as soon as possible. Contact tracing is going to be essential in limiting the spread. So we again need you to partner with us and let us know if there's a positive COVID-19 at home. I think that's my last slide. So I think Mr. Maybe is next.
Thanks, Noelle. Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Maybe at Spring Street School. This slide that you're viewing right now is a schedule for our first week of school. Next week, as you know, we have 4 days of school. Monday is our last of our professional development days that we've had before the school year started. School will begin on Tuesday, September 15th. And it will be for cohort B. And those students in cohort B will be coming into school at their normal arrival time, and dismissal will be at the elementary group at 12:15 and slightly different at Beale. So cohort B will be in school, but cohort C and D for both Tuesday and Wednesday will be learning remotely for the morning. So all students will be either learning in school or be remote learning with their asynchronous plans, or with their remote teacher on Tuesday and Wednesday morning. The same thing happens on Thursday and Friday, except cohort C is going to be in school on Thursday and Friday. Same schedule with the 12:15 dismissal for the elementary group, slightly later for Beale. So everyone in cohort C will come to school at the normal time and be dismissed at 12:15. Cohort B and D will be learning remotely. It's also a half day for them. So they'll be learning, and their dismissal, the learning time is the same as cohort C, they'll be online or asynchronously learning with their teacher till 12:15 dismissal. This is a typical schedule that you'll see during a week that there's only 4 days of school. Our typical weeks, cohort B and C, B will be in school on Monday and Tuesday. There's a half day on Wednesday, and then cohort C is in school Thursday and Friday. Because it's only a half day week, because it's only a 4-day week, we've taken out the Wednesday half day, and everyone will come to school or be remote for 4 days during those weeks. So this is an exception. There'll be a couple of these during the course of the year, but the second week of school, we'll go back to cohort B being in school Monday and Tuesday, and cohort C being in school Thursday and Friday. Cohort D will be learning with their remote teacher all of those days, including Wednesday morning. So that's what our schedule will be for next week. Up next is Gina Kelly from, thank you.
Sorry,
Gina.
it's the lag
you,
on
yeah.
my internet today. I apologize.
Right. So you may ask, how can you find out information about getting into the parent portal or finding out what cohort your child has been, or you chose or has been assigned to, their teacher. So in order to do all of that, you can log into the parent portal in Power School, and there's a link here. And as a reminder, Jane shared that these slides are actually on our district website. So you can go to our district website to connect to these links. So go onto the parent portal. All your child's information will be there. Our exceptional IT team has been working to increase the capacity, anticipating surges, lots of people going on looking for information. There might be times when the surge is more that can be handled by Power School. So we ask you to come back at another time when some people may have logged off. And again, if you forget your username or password, go right on to the parent portal and click either forget username or password, and it'll direct you to where you should go to reset your username or password. Now up next is Gina from Floral Street School.
Thanks, Brian. So as you know, as we do, our students love their allied arts, music, media, PE, and we were, when we pivoted last year, we didn't have an opportunity for the allied arts teachers to do a lot of live teaching with their students. And that was really disappointing for them. And we know it was disappointing for students too. This year, we're really excited to share with you that students will have the opportunity to engage live with their music, PE, art, and media teachers, whether they're Zooming with them because your student will be remote, or whether they're in person at school. And you can expect that your student's classroom teacher will share out the allied arts schedule with you in the very near future, so you'll know what that's going to look like. But we're excited to have the opportunity for kids to be able to be live with their teachers. And next up, we have Chris Girardi from Beale School.
Thank you, Mrs. Kelly. I'm just taking a quick moment to share my screen. I'm going to walk us through how we can get to our school reopening plans. This Wednesday, all principals did push out our school reopening plans, and they live both on our school website and they live at the district website. So here on my shared screen, I am on the district website page, listed individual school reopening plans. And I'm going to come here and click on Beale Early Childhood Center because that's the one I know best. And as that loads, you're going to see our electronic version of our school reopening document. So this is a great place for us to come and to start to learn more about questions you may have about the reopening. So if you have questions, say, about hand washing and how we're going to address hand washing, you can come here to our reopening document, and you can either scroll down through all the different sections, but we can also come here to our directory, and click here, and it'll take me to our hand washing procedures. And listed there are the the routines and the practices that we'll be using to wash hands. There's also a real nice video here. Thank you to Mrs. Noelle Freeman, our nurse director, on watching the video on how we're going to be working with our students to wash hands. So that's the little tutorial here on accessing our school reopening plans, how to get into them, and then how to navigate through them so that you can learn more about school reopening. Always, we are here to talk about these with people who have questions, but this is a great place to start if you just want a little bit more information on how we're addressing different times during our school day. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, let Mrs. Ostrander go back to our slides, and I'm going to turn it over to Lisa McHubry, principal of Floral Street School.
Thank you, Chris. So I just wanted to talk briefly about how students who are going to be managing their supplies and materials. We're very much typically a community-based classroom where they're sharing their supplies, and that is something that we are going to try and avoid as much as possible this year. There will be times, however, when students are sharing supplies, so we just wanted to remind you that they will be washing in those cases. They will be washing their hands both before and after they handle a supply or material, and then a staff member would wipe down or disinfect that material before sharing it with other students. That does not include the sharing of paper and passing out of paper. The teachers are working hard in finding creative ways for our students to have kind of their own set of materials and supplies. These are just a few pictures here on the screen of how that's starting to look here at Floral Street School. You know, lots of different compartments and bins that belong to the student and hold their materials is kind of the way we're going. I did want to draw your attention to the bag on the left-hand side of your screen, which I happen to have here with me too, the Shrewsbury Federal Credit Union bag. Every single elementary student is going to be receiving one of these bags, and we're going to call it a win bag, which means what I need, so a win bag. And teachers are going to be putting in some essential tools from the classroom that students will need when they're working in school or when they're working at home. And these win bags, just to clarify, are going to every student. So that includes students who will be learning in the full remote program this year. We are very busy putting these bags together now. And of course, there will be school supplies that you families have purchased that will be added to the win bag. But the idea is this thing is going to be coming back and forth to school each day for our hybrid learners, so they have what they need no matter where they are for their learning. And we just very much want to share our appreciation to the Shrewsbury Federal Credit Union, because they didn't hesitate when we called and asked them if they would be interested in sponsoring the purchase of the bags. And they did not hesitate. They purchased every single bag for all of our students in the district. So we appreciate that and their support. And now I will pass it along to my colleague, Tiff Ostrander.
Thanks, Lisa. So I'm going to just talk briefly about creating a positive mask culture. So all students in grades K through 4 are required to wear a mask daily, and we know that wearing masks is an important evidence-based practice to reduce the risk of COVID-19 infection. So we have really been focusing at our schools about ways that we can make mask wearing feel normal and make mask wearing feel fun, and certainly provide an environment where the adults wearing masks are not scary to students, but rather it's just part of our new normal. So we would love for you to partner with us so that you can support your child in feeling comfortable in wearing a mask, and maybe even excited to wear a mask. So this slide, once you have it in your possession, you'll be able to check out some links to gain more information about how to support your child with mask wearing. We ask that you do send your child to school each day wearing a mask, and whenever possible, add an additional mask into their backpack for the day. If the mask becomes soiled for any reason, sneezing, dropped it in a puddle during snack time outside, whatever it may be, it's nice for them to have an extra. We will also have some on hand to provide to your child as needed. And then we also wanted you to know that we understand that kids are kids, and inevitably someone may take off their mask, or it may slip so that their nose isn't covered, they may be wearing it incorrectly, and that's okay. We're working on using reminding language and common protocols to support students in adjusting their masks, putting it back on as needed, or even asking for an additional mask break should they require one. So we'll be working on this with them. And if there's any challenges with your particular child wearing a mask, the classroom teacher will certainly be speaking with you and possibly a school administrator so that we can support him or her to wear it appropriately and keep everybody safe. I'm also going to talk to you about restrooms. So restrooms have been, we will only provide half of the occupancy in each restroom. So for example, if there were 4 stalls previously, we'll only be using 2. There are signs on the doors that reflect how many people can be in the restroom at a time. And we have some distanced waiting spots outdoors in the hallway. So students are waiting in the hallway if the restroom is full. At certain points of the day, we will likely have some bathroom monitoring going on so that adults can support students to know when to wait outside. And certainly during the first 6 weeks of school, we'll probably be doing more classroom bathroom breaks to really support this new routine of only a few kids in at a time. And then the other practices, regardless of your grade level, students will be signing in and out of the classroom to use the restroom and any other location in the building so that we are able to know where the movement in the building is and at what times. So if we ever do need to contact trace, we'll be able to know who accessed a particular restroom or hallway. Great. Mr. Mabey is going to talk a little bit more about lunch.
Thank you, Mrs. Ostrander. One thing your child is probably going to notice, in addition to a limited amount of workspaces in classrooms, are lunch spaces. And in order to maximize distancing and keeping everyone safe, we're re-employing our gymnasiums to also be used as cafeteria spaces. So in each of the buildings that have additional cafeteria and gym spaces, we've repurposed those to be lunch areas for students. Students will also notice that tables and other communal eating spaces are no longer in the cafeterias. They're equipped with individual desks so that we can ensure that kids maintain 6 feet of distancing while they're sitting at their desk eating their lunch with their mask off. So that should be something that's new to our students, but there'll still be opportunities to socialize and speak to their friends next to them, behind them, in front of them. They'll just be sitting a little bit further away than usual. So in each of the spaces that students will be eating lunch, there are desks which will be numbered. We will be assigning students to a desk number for the period of time that we're using this protocol. Each day, students will come into the cafeteria, find their specific desk that's numbered, and sit there. And then when lunch is done, faculty or staff members will come around and collect anything that needs to be thrown away to the student's desk. They'll be wheeling around a trash barrel, so students will still be staying seated. And then once lunch is over, classroom teachers will be coming to, or staff members will be coming to the cafeteria or gym, and one class will be dismissed at a time, so to ensure that distancing is maintained from sitting at desks and then heading out of the cafeteria or the gym. As you can imagine, masks will be removed once students are sitting at their desks, and then we put back on before students get up to leave their seat for dismissal from the gym or cafeteria. Our protocol is that prior to coming to lunch, all students will be washing their hands or sanitizing their hands prior to coming to the cafeteria. We'll also have opportunities for those who forgot that we'll have portable hand sanitizers stationed outside of the gym of the cafeteria for a re-hand sanitize or a first time hand sanitize. And then when they get back into their classrooms, they'll wash or sanitize their hands again. The U.S. Department of Agriculture and the National School Lunch Program has permitted our schools to provide a free lunch to anyone that needs or wants it through December 31st. So students will be able to take a lunch home, including next week on the half days. If they need or want a lunch, they'll be able to do that each day. Unlike other past years, our a la carte items are not going to be able to be sold or purchased. So the only thing that's available in the cafeterias will be some type of a bag lunch that, initially a bag lunch that students can pick up and either take home on half days or eat at their desks in the cafeteria or gym on the full, the hybrid days. And then students will, in their bags, they'll have their lunch or sandwich or whatever they have for their food. They'll have a piece of fruit. Their drink will also be in there, napkins, any utensils they'll need. So it's kind of a box lunch that they can take back to their seats and eat or take home and eat. So that's what we're doing for lunch. And up next is Mrs. McCurby, who will give us some directions on how we're going to wrap up the initial part of our webinar here.
Thanks, Brian. So this is the end of our common elementary meeting. We do know that each of us wants to have an opportunity to meet specifically with our own school community to address some more specific details about our reopening with you prior to your students returning to school. So just as a reminder, I'm just going to take a look at my notes here. As a reminder, everyone, all Floral families, please stay on this webinar. We're too big to go to Zoom, so we need to stay on the webinar to continue our conversation or our presentation. All other schools, you are going to hop off of this webinar and you are going to go into the email that your principal sent along and click on the Zoom link so that you can meet together. We're going to give, those principals are going to give a couple of minutes time for you to log off of here and log into your Zoom link, and Floral families will just sit tight for about 30 seconds and then we'll get right into our meeting.
Just 1 minute. I noticed there's some questions in the QA option on our webinar. I'm hoping that the families that have asked those questions will re-ask them in the individual school Zoom meeting. So if you asked a question, we want to be sure to be able to answer that. So please re-ask that question in your individual school Zoom meeting.
Sounds great.
Chris, you're muted.
Mr. Maybe I did just copy all the questions from our Q&A. I have the document so that we'll be able to take a look at them and begin answering them so they don't get lost.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
And Mrs. McCurry and the Floral families, I'm going to stop our district-wide recording and you can start a new Floral recording.